back to our studio discussion now. And Jeremy, I wonder first, what do you have to say in response to that discussion we have?
He was quiet for a few minutes.
You know,
it wasn't easy for him.
It's very hard for me to hear him. He's talking about racism and incitement, when in fact he's the one who is racist and incites against Ayelet Shaked and members of the right-wing party. So I think maybe he should look at himself in the mirror. You know, this is right before the Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, when we, you know, confess our sins to God. Perhaps that's something he should do. I know he's a member of the Communist Party and he doesn't really believe in God, but, you know, maybe he should go ahead and do some inner, you know, introspection in terms of the stuff that's happening there. I think that if we're talking about this general strike, I think it's unfortunate that the Israeli Arab members, as well as Dr. Cassif, are not joining and being a part of this, which is really, you know, this is a festive of our democracy. I was listening to some of the things that were said by Yair Golan today, which is, again, he's a guy who keeps wanting to put Nazis into every single, you know, situation that he can. And it's just very, very disappointing for me, because when I'm thinking of the left, I'm thinking, again, of a tolerant left. I'm thinking of a left that is pluralistic, a left that really cares about liberal values. And really, you know, I'll tell you something that I noticed that did remind me, actually, of Germany from the 1930s. That was part of your campaign, in which you had a hotline in which people were supposed to call and report people who were doing religious activity in public places. So, you know, I'm saying maybe we should go ahead and, instead of trying to find all these things that don't exist within Israeli politics, maybe it's time for the left to wonder why it is they were not able to win this election, why they were not able to oust Netanyahu, and go ahead and really look inside and ask why it is that they're finding all of these external things.
So first of all, I think that Yemina and Ayelet Shaked and Naftali Bennett didn't do so well in the last two elections, so I'm not sure that we need to. There's two big parties, and I'm not sure we could find the different, let's say, results of the election. We could say that's the reason that the left is doing better or the right is doing better. I think that we have racism in Israel. Against the Arab society and against different societies. And as Jews and as Zionists, I think that we need to fight against racism and for equality. That's the basic of Zionism. That's the basic. That's the basic of Judaism. I never saw someone from the right fight against racism, against the Arab society. The Arab society is part of Israel. They're part of the Israeli democracy, and you could like them or not. They're not going anywhere. We're not going anywhere. We need to find ways to live together.
I like them, but there are also Israeli Arabs that are not part of the joint list, and they will be sworn in today. And, you know, after we're done here in the studios, I'm going to go to my friend Ali, who's a city council member in Abu Ghosh.
I don't want to hear about Abu Ghosh.
Because, no, you need to understand that what the joint list is doing is not representing their people.
They're representing the people.
And I am telling you that the hotline that your party ran, it was your party that ran that, you cannot even defend it.
2 weeks ago.
You are a God-fearing person, you cannot defend it.
2 weeks ago.
Maybe you can explain to me, what is it that reminds him of Nazi Germany? Please tell me, what is Golan saying?
I don't think that you need to talk about Nazis and Germany.
So tell Yair Golan.
And I don't like that.
Well, at least we can agree on that.
I think that racism and that your party wanted to put in the Knesset together with the Prime Minister, the Kahanistim, and Itamar
they were not on our party list.
They were not
on our party list.
I listened to Shaked. Yes. She said that they suggested them the number 4 and 8 in their party and in their living room.
No, not in our party.
There's a picture of the murder Baruch Goldstein. So you could not compare it to Nazism, but you could compare it to racism. And that's not Judaism.
Yair Golan is being sworn in today as a Knesset member, and he's talking about
Itamar Ben-Gvir, and that the Prime Minister Netanyahu and Ayelet Shaked wanted to put in the Knesset Itamar Ben-Gvir, the Kahanist, the racist person, that in his living room you have a picture of the murderer, the mass murderer, Baruch Goldstein. So if we want to talk about extremes, they are in both sides.
So you're going to talk about people who are not elected to Knesset. That's who you're going to talk
about Shaked and Netanyahu that worked hard to put Itamar Ben Gvir
did not work to put. We ran on a list of 3 parties.
Yeah.
There was no effort to add them into any of our parties.
A big effort.
No. They have their own party. Listen, they have their own party.
You agree to run in one block, right?
Party. There's a much bigger difference between running as a block and running as part of the same party. You guys went ahead. You are 3 parties that are part of your own block.
There's no Itamar Ben Gvir in our party. There's no Itamar Ben Gvir and no Ofer Cassif in our party. So I think that
for now, Tamar Zandberg wants to bring Cassif into your party.
If we want, we need to talk about how we make Israel more moderate, more pluralistic, and
is pluralistic having a hotline so that people.
Pluralistic is having Israel as a Jewish country, but without any religious coercion. Without any religious coercion.
You can't deal with the content that I am bringing forth because you have no good answer.
No, I'm for Israel as a Jewish state. Israel as a Jewish state without religious coercion.
Gentlemen, I want to pause for just 1 second just to remind our viewers what the Prime Minister said earlier today at the Knesset. Let's take a listen and continue discussing.
Benny Gantz also received votes, but it's not enough to form a government, and there is no alternative but to fulfill the people's wishes and form a broad unity government. That's what's necessary at this point. Benny Gantz, it seems, is trying to avoid this decision, and he's trying to change the democratic process. I don't plan to accede to this demand. We represent a broad section of the public. We need to go together. If we go together, then we'll bring a salvation for the people of Israel.
Yes, that was the Prime Minister speaking less than an hour ago. Jeremy, of course, the Prime Minister had said before the results were, before they came in, and even after they came in, the joint list is not a legitimate member of a coalition government, and that's why Benny Gantz shouldn't be Prime Minister. He relies on these recommendations and on the cooperation of the joint list, but so many members of Arab society in Israel voted for them, obviously, 13 seats. Is it a mistake for Netanyahu not to recognize these voters now at this point in time that the election results have come in?
Well, first of all, you have to recognize the results of the election. I don't think Netanyahu is denying that. What he's denying is that they have a place in the Israeli government. But even if you're not going to ask him, the joint list members themselves tell you they don't want to be a member of the government. Is it right for Netanyahu to go ahead and disqualify them straight out instead of giving them a chance? Look, they went ahead and recommended the other guy. You're not going to expect Netanyahu to go ahead and say, listen, I'm going to go ahead and give you guys a big hug and welcome you into national unity government. These are. This is a list.
But they did cooperate. They did cooperate.
There was for sure cooperation before the election. The joint list did vote for this early election that we had. If we have another election, I would assume that they would vote for it again. They're very happy in that regard. But again, the joint list didn't show up today. They're not getting sworn in. So again, it's very difficult to go ahead and bring them into a government when they are doing everything possible to distance themselves from the rest of Knesset. I would like to see an Arab society that is integrated in Israeli society. This is something we agree on. I would like to see that the members that are elected by the Israeli Arab community decide that they want to join a government, even if it's not a government that I want to see. The thing is that the current members that were elected don't want that.
But Jeremy, so it's our responsibility.
You have to deal with the results of the election.
It's our responsibility. We have the only Jewish state here. We're the majority. It's our responsibility to take care also for the Arab citizens here in Israel. And if we go back to the Bible, I think the most, let's say, popular verse is that we need to remember that we were strangers in Egypt. So I think that one of the most, we could say the Arab doing is they're very extreme and we have problems. Everything is right, but in the end, it's our responsibility to try and to build bridges between the Jewish society and the Arab society. And democracy, they voted, almost 500,000 Israelis voted for the Arab joint list just 2 weeks ago. So we need to find a way to bring them into the legit.
For sure we need to. You know, one of the things that, for instance, Naftali Bennett did as economy minister was to create employment centers specifically targeted for the Arab population to be able to go ahead and help them gain skills based on a market survey.
And he got a like. I did a like.
Yeah, so I'm saying, listen, and I can tell you for myself, in my position, I sit in the regional government of the planning and building division. I've probably gone ahead and approved more housing for Arabs than my predecessor, who was actually from Meretz. So, you know, I wouldn't say that this is a fair thing to say that every single right-wing person is not working to go ahead and do that. But we're talking about the joint list. That's what the question is about. And again, I understand why Netanyahu is disqualifying them from joining the coalition.
But they're the representatives of the Arab society. You could like it or not.
Yaya,
got the mandate.
Would you feel comfortable if Gantz goes ahead and says he is forming the government and he's bringing in the Democratic Union and he's going to bring in all the Arab parties, not just Hadash, also Balad, into the coalition that he's building? Will you feel comfortable representing a coalition that has that composition?
No, I don't think so.
We're in agreement again.
But we could find ways how to empower them and how to make Israel more equality and more like more bridges to the Arab society.
Let's jump back together to Jerusalem before we wrap this hour, gentlemen. Jordana Miller is live for us at the Israeli parliament. She's been there throughout this hectic day. Jordana, a few hours ago, we didn't know how this day will end. We were waiting for Prime Minister Netanyahu to address reporters, Benny Gantz, Yair Lapid, and so on. Now we've heard from all these leaders. Do we understand where we're going any better than we did this morning?
I wish we did, Ayman, but it still seems like there is a cloud of uncertainty that hangs over this new Israeli parliament that is just minutes away from being sworn in. But the political drama has been building all day with different twists and turns. Gideon Sa'ar, one of the people say maybe the next leader of the Likud party, just walked past us. He, of course, is making headlines today after Netanyahu floated the idea of holding primaries in the Likud party. He quickly tweeted, you know, I'm ready. In other words, game on. So he's getting a lot of attention here, and he is making his way to the ceremony, which is going to start, as I said, in just a few minutes. We also just got a statement from General Benny Gantz, the head of the Blue and White Party, in what sounds like the first real call from him to Netanyahu to really step aside. And I just want to pull up the statement here and read you part of it. And he says, I call upon Netanyahu, do not barricade yourself in your position. We will take the reins from here and lead the country for the good of the citizens. We will do this together with the best people from Likud and together with additional partners. That sure sounds like a message to Netanyahu. Maybe it's time for you to step aside. That after days of negotiations between the two sides that have just gone nowhere, a real impasse over the question of who would be the first to serve as prime minister in any kind of rotation. Gantz now seems to be calling on Netanyahu to really move out of the picture. And I didn't read you the first part of that statement, but it had to do, of course, with his legal troubles, saying this is a prime minister that should be dealing with the country's security issues and their many social issues and not dealing with attorneys and courtrooms. Ayman?
All right, Jordana Miller live for us there at the Israeli parliament. Jordana, thank you. Jordana brings us back, Jeremy, to what we began discussing earlier this hour, that statement from Yair Lapid that he will no longer insist on a rotation with Benny Gantz. And it seems like this would be what the Blue and White Party will play to say, here, we already made a concession. Why isn't the Likud budging?
Well, I'm sure Likud will go ahead and make a concession, and they have a number of concessions that are at their disposal, and of course it's up to the Prime Minister to decide which one he's going to decide to utilize. But what I think, again, is important here is that the step that Yair Lapid took today, I think, does bring us closer to national unity government. And by the way, that might not be a national unity government that I'm a part of. It could be Yaya won't be a part of it. But again, I think what Israelis are saying is we want a government. We don't care if we're in the government, if we're in the opposition. And that really is my own feelings. I'm not afraid of the opposition. What we need is a government in Israel. It is time for the politicians to go ahead and act responsibly and just give us that government, because we have been in this situation of really not knowing what is coming next for way too long, and we would like to see some certainty. And of course, our markets and our economy would like that as well.
Yair?
I think that Netanyahu is going to do almost everything until Monday and maybe until the end of the month to divert attention from his indictments. I think that he wants to try and to move the focus from the charges to the political arena, and he's succeeding. I'm not sure. I hope we will have a government, a united government, until, let's say, the end of the holidays. But I'm less optimistic than Jeremy.
It does seem likely, Jeremy, that he will give back the mandate. Those are the reports coming in.
Well, again, I think that what Lapid did today, as I said, I think this was done in order to counter what Netanyahu planned on doing today. I really do believe this. I believe that if Lapid did not go out and say today that he was giving up on the rotation, Netanyahu would have taken the mandate and he would have given it back. Because he sat with Lieberman. He tried to sit with Peretz, and Peretz said, forget about it. Gantz had said, there's no reason for us to sit anymore. So without Lapid making that move, I think Netanyahu would have given back the mandate. So now, again, the pressure is back on Netanyahu. He's going to have to make a concession on his side. I believe that he will. And after he will, this is going to go ahead and either bring us closer. If it doesn't, then, unfortunately, he probably will give back the mandate, and then you have the option for the president to either give it to Gantz, do a new round of consultations, or just go ahead and go to the speaker and say, I'm not even going to bother with the second round, and then it'll be up to the Knesset to decide. And if the Knesset can't put forth a candidate, then we're going to do what the people do not want to see, and that's have another election. But I am very hopeful that we're able to see a solution that does not end up with us going to another election. For me, I was in the municipal elections also earlier, so I had 3 elections already this past year. I'd be happy with 0 elections this coming year.
You don't think Lapid's stepping aside from the rotation thing will really revolutionize these negotiations?
I think no one really thought that he's going to get a part of the prime minister.